Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to finish off my effect price list series thing and show you guys the cheapest effects out of them all. So let's get right into it. At number 10 we have Overclocked with an average price of 29.48 keys and a total of 567 hats with the effect on it. Compared to the other cheapest effects, the amount of hats with Overclocked on it is barely anything, and it just looks like broken pixels flying around your head, and that for some reason doesn't appeal to me. I don't think it looks very nice and definitely deserves to be this cheap. At number 9 we have Orbiting Fire with an average price of 29.03 keys and having a total of 7,102 hats with the effect on it. I quite like a lot of these lower tier effects because they are so simple, and Orbiting Fire is definitely one of them. Most lower tier hats have this effect on them for much cheaper, but due to the god tier effects with this, or the god tier hats, sorry, with this effect on it, it drags the average price up, and normally these hats would be a lot cheaper than 29 keys. At number 8 we have Kilowatt with an average price of 27.27 keys with a total of 4,749 hats with the effect on. I am honestly not a big fan of this unusual effect, but it can go quite nicely with some other effects and stuff, which is quite useful, and that's kind of why I sort of like this effect. It's not like one I'd go for to have on a class by itself, but it definitely looks really cool with some combos. At number 7 we have Smoking with an average price of 27.03 keys with a total of 7,127 hats on, which, that's a large amount of hats to have an effect on it, and the effect does look okay. I quite like to pair it with something like else instead of just leaving it on its own, because it's just one of those effects that looks okay on its own, but paired with the right effect, if you can afford it, it looks really, really cool. At number 6 we have Steaming, which is only a slight bit cheaper at 24.03 keys and having a total of 6,854 hats with the effect on. I also really like the look of this effect because it's just simple. I like simple effects because it's not too much to look at, but you can still appreciate the fact that it's an unusual and it looks quite nice, and you just appreciate the fact that it's an unusual and it's there. At number 5 we have Bubbling at an average 23.65 keys with a total of 6,912 hats with the effect on. Bubbling for me is like a very clean effect and is quite nice to look at. It's not too over the top, but it is enough to make it obvious and enjoyable to look at. This was one of the first unusual effects I saw, and the first unusual effect I ever had on a hat, and I really enjoyed it because it was an unusual effect and I really thought it looked cool, and it's definitely very good for the price. At number 4 we have Dead Presidents with an average price of 22.37 keys, and there are also 4,523 hats with this effect. I quite like this effect, except for when I'm trying to sell a hat with it. It looks alright when it's on the right hat, but it really takes a lot of time to sell the hats because there are so many, and the supply is much higher than the demand again, and it's the effect hype died quite quickly. I think it looks okay when it's on the right hat, as I've already said, but a lot of the time it just looks weird and doesn't work. At number 3 we have Aces High with an average 22.2 keys. There are 4,594 hats with this effect on it. I kind of like this effect because it fits with more hats in the game, because it's very similar to Dead Presidents looks, and also the fact that there are too many people who own a hat with this effect on it, so it's really not difficult to find one when you want to buy one. And at number 2 we have Orbiting Planets with an average price of 22.14 keys with a total of 6,935 hats with the effect on it. I really like the planets effect just because it's so simple and nice looking. I kind of wanted to make a set of one of my classes at some point which incorporates this effect into it, because it is one of my favourites, because it was, the first unusual I got that I ever wanted to keep was an Orbiting Planets Glengarry Bonnet, but I eventually sold it because I wanted to get something else. And at number 1 we have probably the most obvious of them all, nuts and bolts, with an average price of 20.06 keys and a whole 6,139 hats with the effect on it. It is quite easy to tell that nuts and bolts is the cheapest effect, as it isn't really noticeable from a large distance away, and even when you're really up close, it is still quite hard to see if you're in the heat of battle. And that kind of defeats the purpose of owning an unusual, so people don't want to pay that much for an effect that you can barely see, which is why it is so cheap. But anyway, thank you to everybody who watched this far into the video. If you enjoyed, please let me know in the comments and tell me what I could do better next time. It really means a lot to me, and I love reading comments from you guys. You're all awesome, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video.